Hello and welcome back to Vox Terra, aka Hidden Agendas. Let's just start with a clip of a debate between Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz over Iran.
If you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran, so
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government,
you're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
Tucker Carlson asked, really what he was saying is, what the heck do you know about Iran, yet you're so quick to invade them? Well, I would say that truer words were never spoken in general. That arrogance of ignorance and violence, that leads us Americans into war so often. But there's really two ways of looking at pacifism or anti-war. There's what I call a classic left or a true left, and then there's kind of a right-wing isolationist. So I think Tucker Carlson more would represent that right-wing isolationist, which I would be somewhat suspicious of his motives. For example, he asked, what's the ethnicity of Iran? And what is he getting at there? What I'm assuming he's getting at is the fact that Iranians, many would consider them to be descendants of Aryans, the Aryan tribal people who migrated from the steppes of Central Asia, I believe, into both modern Iran or Persia, and also settled in the area that's now modern day Germany. Tucker Carlson, I believe, has a more worldview of ethnic nationalism, supporting Viktor Orban in Hungary. Viktor Orban then would put George Soros at a lot of conspiracies, and George Soros is Jewish, and there we're seeing kind of that right-wing conspiracy or Hitlerian conspiracy thinking, at least a lightweight version of it. Ted Cruz, of course, is no pacifist and Marxist. He's more, I suppose, espousing the neoconservative view, which is a viewpoint that I would have to say is might makes right. And after the Soviet Union collapsed, America should just assert itself in a military fashion and knock out all of its so-called enemies. The basic question of the population is, how do we even know these people are really enemies? Well, one helpful way to get you to slow down that war fever is, I think, taking a classic left-wing analysis. And you don't have to agree with everything Karl Marx has to say, but just that basic idea that these wars, like World War I was the Bolshevik point of view in the Russian Revolution, these wars are really representing different competing business interests. And that does us, the average people, no good at all, even though we get sucked into it. So let's take Iran and its history, and part of which really I don't think Tucker Carlson asked about, and that is the coup in the 1950s of a democratically elected socialist by the name of Mossadeq. And I feel every American should know about this. So us, our country, the CIA and the MI6, I think in Britain, got together to topple this man who was elected because his quote crime, close quote, was to nationalize Iranian oil and wrest control away from the company that later became British Petroleum. And apparently the British, or that company, had control really since 1908. So here we see the fossil fuel industry really with us since the dawn of capitalism, an extremely powerful industry that gets underreported, understudied, underlooked at by our population, by our media, and by our politicians for darn sure. So the MI6 and the CIA helped get rid of Mossadeq and put in the Shah. The Shah then was later deposed by the Iranian Revolution because the Shah apparently kept control through brutal means. Well, who knew that? I guarantee you, if you were around at the time of the Iranian Revolution, when the hostages were taken, the American hostages, the dominant media narrative would have completely left out Mossadeq and what the Shah was up to. So it's really these one-sided narratives that allow us to vilify other countries and then launch off to these wars. And if we look at all of our wars in the Middle East, we really could say they all have an opposite of what Tucker Carlson might say, an anti-socialist agenda, an what I call true left agenda, and a pro-privatization agenda. Case in point would be our support for the Mujahideen in Afghanistan under Ronald Reagan against the Soviet-backed government, a secular government. Iraq under Saddam Hussein and the Ba'ath Party was a secular government. We toppled. Libya under Gaddafi, a secular government, non-religious, non-Islamicist. We toppled. Syria, we played a big role, I believe, in toppling under Bashar al-Assad, also a secular, non-Islamist government. We toppled. And then to good old Palestine, well, I showed you an article earlier about the Israeli support for the Hamas against the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Organization, who was, again, more of a secular, non-Islamist movement, or at least not a fundamentalist Islamist movement like Hamas. So we really have, going throughout history, this British and American and the Israeli kind of supporting these more chaotic elements, these more Islamist elements throughout history, throughout time, really creating a no-win situation for the people of the Middle East. And if you buy into these wars and buy into this whole, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys, and it's really that simple, and we need to invade these people, and even if it is about money and oil industry and the defense industry, even if it is about those moneyed interests, hey, that's just how this ugly world of ours works. Well, you know what? At the height of the British Empire, that was also the height of the grinding poverty in the slums of London. And that massive empire really did not do the people any good. And today, this massive empire, if you want to call it that, is really, to a large extent, supporting the dominance of the fossil fuel and the defense industries. And that looks to me like that is leading us towards endless war on a superheating, burning planet.